Hello, this is Communicating by Examples, sharing knowledge in a globally distributed software team. I am Jennifer Flora Black, email jennifer.black@acm.org, and this is an industry insight presentation for SIGDOC23, the ACM Special Interest Group on Design of Communications 2023 Annual Conference. So to outline what I'll cover, I'll introduce myself and the situation and the challenge of having a global team with a specialized American domain, the solution of we used examples to improve teamwork and our collaboration, and I'll talk about some takeaways from that. So first, a quick introduction and disclaimer: all analysis, opinions, and findings are solely the responsible of the author. I am not formally representing my company, though I do have permission. So let me talk about the industry context. I've been working in software about 20 plus years now, and there has been an increase in going global. So US software companies are using offshoring for technical talent. That was a trend, and fully remote work was also a trend that accelerated due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So the specific challenge I'm going to talk about is an industry case study of a fully remote global software team building specialized financial aid software for US universities and colleges. And the software does automation for federal student loans, grants, and institutional scholarships. It's an international software team, but we have most of our domain experts are located in the United States, but it is a truly international product development team. Many of our staff, especially our technical staff, are outside of the US. So we have software developers, business analysts, quality assurance engineers in the US, and many around the world. However, the product is very American-centric, and it is literally a foreign concept for non-US workers. So for the specific case, we were implementing a new regulatory model called subscription periods, which was driven by our existing customers as well as market interest. So this was a new regulatory model, so the entire team was learning it together. Our product management was working with the regulators and customers. Our development team was defining, designing, developing, and testing. Our account managers and client teams and our sales staff were understanding, what is this new model? What is it capable of? What are the markets to use it? And the end users want to understand how to use this and use our software for meeting student needs. So logistical and cultural factors. We work across multiple time zones. And so, of course, most of our communication is asynchronous. We have flexible work schedules and try to overlap some, but most of it has to be written and in different times, but it's a very domain-specific context. US universities and financial aid are very specialized. There are completely different cultural models for paying for higher education outside the US. There may even be sometimes universities have batches of students or cohorts that go through all together, taking the same classes all the same time. But this particular model is a very individualized and US approach, so quite different from what many of our workers are dealing with themselves. So the solution is we used examples to bridge that knowledge gap. So we started with business requirements. We built in examples using our clients' input, which also had a very good improved understanding of our clients' needs. And that's a typical agile software development principle of get your real using examples and think as a customer. And this was also something we used in our regulatory work. So we clarified with our federal regulators using examples in questions and what if scenarios for the feds. We use examples, and we try to use the same examples throughout in our functional requirements. We have annotated functional requirements. We use a numbered structured table format, and we have the requirement side by side with the notes. So The notes explain the requirement, and the requirement is using the example. And so by having that side-by-side approach, we can also add visual aids or additional notes. We can note any requirements changes or questions and answers. So it's a nice way, and it's been very successful for conveying understanding. So we have the requirement and the example. We also integrate that into our ticketing system. We have very specific testable requirements, and we have development tickets to implement them, but we also have testing focused tickets for specific examples. The requirements wiki is integrated with our ticket tracking system, and so that also improves traceability. So how to adapt them for a global audience? There's actually not that much. The staff, by and large, are very good at speaking or at least understanding written English. So the main things we did were the date formats. So for the functional requirements and tests, we spell out the months for the global teams, but we still kept that US, again, very US specific date format for our customer facing documentation for our American customers. We organized the requirements by work team, and that helped. We also have an internal knowledge sharing sessions we call them a brown bag, but that is open to everyone, not just our US staff, but also our offshore staff and contractors. So it helped us in teamwork. It provided more equitable collaboration between our developers and business analysts. They could push back and say, can you help clarify this? They used examples, and that helped them understand, even if it was a very unfamiliar cultural model. And they could also help us they identified some missing or unclear requirements. And finally, they had unit tests that they built based on the examples. And so that also was helpful, because if there was a change made later on, they could come back to us and say, what about these broken unit tests? But it gives them a better case for pushing back when it's needed, and they have better questions. We also had better test cases, our quality assurance testers. So they built their test cases using our original client scenarios. And so we had very specific inputs and expected results, and that made it much easier for them to report test failures for remediation. They could also understand and better prioritize the test cases, and then incorporate those once they're set. They incorporate them into automated regression tests. So we have an automatic check on this, as again, built using examples. So we also used examples in our documentation. So you might be interested to know, we responded to customers' requests for additional documentation. So for example, we used configuration settings. They wanted very detailed information for how to configure the system. And so we provided that based on the actual test environments. And then they also gave us additional examples that they hadn't thought of before from their user acceptance tests, and eventually when it was in production. And so they submitted those as enhancement requests and a few bug reports, as always. So just in conclusion, general takeaways: use examples. They are a very effective way to improve communication and collaboration. They built understanding for working with a foreign context or an unfamiliar domain, and they help empower all team members to collaborate more effectively. So also want to acknowledge thanks very much to my colleagues, the employees and contractor staff around the world. Special thanks to Dr. Margaret Black of Bridgewater State University in Massachusetts, USA, for critiquing an early proposal draft. Thank you very much to the peer reviewers for their excellent feedback. And finally, this would not be possible without the moderators, volunteers, and conference committee of SIGDOC23 for enabling remote presentations. Thank you, thank you, thank you for letting me present this. So again, all analysis, opinions, and findings are solely my responsibility. If you want to connect with me or if you have questions or comments, I would love to hear from you. My email is jennifer.black@acm.org. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I am Jennifer Flora Black, and my LinkedIn is jflorablack. Thanks so much.